number 14 and 16, respectively, here on the Open Series. Both of these guys looking to grind their way up to an at-large bid to qualify for the Players' Championship.
Yeah, big match between the two players. Both of them coming off 2 buys. Pretty big coincidence that they get paired up immediately in round 3.
We're underway here with the Sandsep Citadel here from Scherer. Abzan aggro, the Boswell build, not the Hangerback Walker build. Looks to be pretty popular here among our named players.
And the card Matthew will be trying to dodge is Anafenza. That card turns off most of his deck.
Yep.
If Caleb plays a fair game without a copy of Anafenza, though, you have to think Tickal's a favorite to game 1.
Yeah, definitely game 1. An Urborg here for both players, so black mana aplenty.
Yeah, I think Tickal making a comment there of, oh, this one destroys both of them, right?
Yeah, not anymore.
Actually, Tickal, an interesting decision. He has a Sylvan Caryatid and Jace Prodigy in his hand.
Looks like he's going to go with Jace.
That's a huge amount of respect. If you're not playing that mana ramper on turn 2, that shows that you believe in this card.
Is it time for Anafenza? Looks like it's time for Bramaz. So Scherer with no turn 2 play. Notable that if he's not going to play a turn 2 spell, he didn't even have a removal spell for Jace. So he's getting started kind of late this game on turn 3.
In Tickal's spot there, I'm actually surprised that he didn't go with Caryatid because I would assume a kill spell in that situation when Caleb doesn't play a creature.
Yeah, I would have assumed the same thing. However, Jace is active, so Tickal getting paid off for his decision at this point. We'll see what he does want to discard. A lot of copies of Caryatid in hand, 3 of them at this point.
3 Caryatids, Fleshbag Marauder, another Jace, a Collected Company, and Rally already in his hand, so he just needs to get the graveyard going. And I think that may have been what factored into his decision to play out lead off on Jace.
He'll discard a Jace, play a Caryatid, pass the turn back. So to Scherer we go. Valorous Stance in hand, picked up a copy of Manic Influence.
Yeah, no 3rd land for Matthew.
Here comes Bramaz, it appears, along with the cat token. I think we'll see the cat token get blocked by Caryatid. 3 damage likely to come through here. Yep, and there's your snap block.
Yep, Tickal gets the free block, but still some extra damage for Caleb as Bramaz will bring an extra cat token each turn until Matt plays a creature that can block.
Yep. Manic Influence is land number 4 here for Caleb. Does he have a card like a Siege Rhino? He's got Jamoka's Command and Valorous Stance in hand.
This is a low-pressure start from Caleb. It's giving Tickal time to fuel up things.
So Jamoka's Command is going to make the cat token into a 2/2. Fight Jace, follow up with the Death Deal. Now this is a good turn here from Scherer.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the Jace off the table. Played additional threats. Now for Tickal's side, he did get land number 3, so that will help accelerate him toward his rally.
Yeah, land number 3 is mana source number 4, which now we could probably see Collected Company here.
Exactly.
But you have to believe Scherer's going to attack with everything. No sense in holding back. So here's Collected Company.
Do you think Scherer has another Jamoka's Command?
Let's see what Tickal finds off this Collected Company. Take a look at the top 6, of course. Can take 2 creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less and put them on the battlefield.
Has some options. Looks like Minister of Pain, Liliana Heretical Healer, and Satyr Wayfinder are his options.
The Minister of Pain?
Yeah, Minister of Pain. Exploit 2/3. All of Scherer's creatures will get -1/-1.
Don't see that one very much.
Yeah, 2 of them in Tickal's deck. I mean, remember the Abzan Rally deck is superb at setting up really good rally turns. And Minister of Pain helps to do that.
Let's see what Tickal wants to take off of this. Looks like he's going to go with 2 copies of Satyr Wayfinder, kind of build up the graveyard.
Yeah, well, this is really interesting. So his options, or he could go for 2 Wayfinders, or he could do Minister of Pain and Liliana, which certainly would also be good. This is a very aggressive line where he's more or less hoping to rally next turn.
Yep. He found lands off the Wayfinder activations. I think we'll see blockers.
Yeah, well, I like this because if he knows he'll get the lands, which he probably will with 2 Wayfinders, next turn he can rally for 3. That'll get him the entire graveyard.
Wayfinders are going to get killed via Bile Blight. So it's going to be a pretty healthy attack here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not lethal.
Yeah, but the question is Tickal's attack lethal? He doesn't have Mokus's Marauder in the graveyard just yet. So his rally creatures won't have haste. There's Risen Executioner. the creature, the draw for the turn. You see he's got a Rally shuffled to the front there. 2 more Caryatids, a Fleshbag Marauder, and a Risen Executioner's hand. Same card, different names. Merciless Executioner. Yeah, both of them the 3 ones. Sorry, Risen Executioner, different card.
Yep.
But a lot of that Edict effect.
Yeah, the Edict effect with Ray Todic when he won Richmond, he had so many Edict effects in his deck. I think access to 6 with that particular deck list, and a lot of players have started mimicking that because they're so powerful in this deck. Here's Rally of the Ancestors. It's going to be for 3.
Here come the Ancestors.
And a lot of stuff is about to come back.
She has 2 Satyr Wayfinders, Den Protector, Fleshbag, Liliana, Death Mist Raptor, Caryatid, and 2 Jaces.
Not bad. Not bad. Gonna have to stack all these triggers, of course, because you've got a bunch of Jaces coming back. That means he gets to keep one. He'll have to lose another one, which means Liliana's gonna flip and bring a zombie along with it, and a bunch of stuff happens here.
Yeah, the Jace, and he can upkeep. He's gonna get to keep the Jace, actually, so he upkeep gets to flip it before it's gonna die. If he taps it. We'll walk through, I guess, as each of these happens. So he lost a Jace, that triggered Liliana. He gets a zombie. Liliana's now a Planeswalker. Fleshbag Marauder will resolve. Looks like Caleb's going to pick a cat token, whereas a Satyr Wayfinder will hit the yard for Tickal.
And the only thing Tickal hasn't done yet is resolve both Satyr Wayfinder triggers.
Yeah.
So he's going to resolve his first one, get a Temple of Mystery. Now he'll resolve his second one, get a Sansept Citadel. And reloading up in the graveyard again.
Yep, no Mogus's Marauder still in the graveyard. Another Rally was milled.
I think maybe the best card that Tickal found here was the Death Mist Raptor.
Yeah, that certainly trades with things like Bramaz.
Can do a lot of blocking to get some of these things off of the battlefield and get his creatures back into the graveyard.
Yeah, you see how he puts the zombie in front of the 2/2 because the zombie's not going to get exiled next turn from Rally?
A lot of blocking on Bramaz. Den Protector going to jump in front of Death Dealer and make Death Dealer have to make an activation. All pretty good stuff right now here for Tickal. His deck is firing on all cylinders at this point.
Remember, they exile at the beginning of Tickal's next upkeep. So with that trigger in the stack, he will get to tap Jace and flip Jace and get the Planeswalker version, which means he can give his Rally flashback. So he actually has another Rally ready to go.
And I think that's a huge reason as to why Tickal likes Jace in this deck. It's not to say that Jace is bad in the deck. I actually think Jace is very, very good in the deck. You're stretching your mana a lot to play the card.
Exactly.
Now, is it worth it? In some instances, yes, some no. In this particular game, being able to flashback Rally might be a game-winning play.
Yeah, well, he's going to lose most of these creatures. Well, the ones that don't die. Caleb can actually do a trick where I believe he can over-assign damage to try to prevent Tickal's cards from hitting the graveyard. Things that don't die will get exiled. So if Caleb's going to let this combat happen, he may just want to deal, say, 3 to Death Mist and let everything else die.
We'll see if he knows that trick or not. Looks like blockers have been arranged, all that good stuff.
Do you still just assign 3 damage to a 1/1, or do you have to go to the next turn?
Here's Valorous Stance. I think we're going to have a pump on the Death Dealer, too.
Yeah, that damage coming through, Mana Confluence and Pain lands.
Actually, we'll go through a Jamoka's Command here.
That'll take down the Jace. Does not want Tickal to get to flash back that Rally.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him to either. So you'll see a pretty messy exchange here in combat. Tickal will lose some stuff. Caleb will keep most of his stuff, though he had to use some of his spells.
Valorous Stance kept Bramaz alive. Jamoka's Command fought down the Jace. And still temporary, remember, Liliana flipped into a Planeswalker that turn, so she can bring Jace back. Yeah,
but if I'm Tickal here, I'm pretty happy with how that turn went. You know, I'm going to lose my Death Mist Raptor and my Caryatid. That's unfortunate. I do get to keep my Liliana, but the thing to keep in mind here for Matthew is he's got a lot of cards in his hand.
Oh, absolutely.
It looks like he just picked up a copy of Mogis Marauder, a little late to the party.
Well, it's not too bad. If he gets to enough mana where he can rally and just cast the Mogis Marauder out of hand, that will work as well.
He does have Edict effects in his hand. The Edict effects here in Fleshbag Marauder and Merciless Executioner are not great against the Bramaz and the tokens that it does make.
Yeah, I mean, if he's willing to cash out the Liliana, he could Edict and has a land, he could edict everything. He could play the 2 out of his hand, and he could reanimate the 1 in his graveyard.
Yep. I think he might be a little short on that, but we'll see. I mean, he's got so many options.
Yeah, Grim Horror Specs as well. You see that one in his hand.
Looks like he's going to start with a morph here in Horror Specs.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see him play that one face down. I can't imagine as much of a secret as to what it is.
Yeah,
you just want to play it face up.
I don't know if there's a benefit to playing it face down. I guess that's the question. Here's a Temple. Top card going to go to the bottom.
He does play Den Protectors and Death Mists.
Yeah. And he does have a Death Mist in the graveyard, so okay, fair enough. This makes a little bit more sense, okay. Because he lost 1 earlier, but he had another 1 in the graveyard, so he's able to bring that back. That's a good blocker right now. Liliana's going to get cashed in.
Looks like she'll bring back Fleshbag Marauders. He's going to go to work on Caleb's creatures.
This will trigger the Horror Specs too.
Yep, he'll get to draw a card.
So token down, trigger Horror Specs, draw a card.
There you go.
Basic Plains.
Basic's a great draw, having an untapped mana source.
Warden of the first 2 to draw here for Scherer. Not particularly good on this board. I don't see Caleb having the time to get to the ultimate. Here come the attackers. The unfortunate thing here for Caleb is really this is all he can do in this game.
Yeah, without Anafenza, this matchup is very difficult for Ops on aggro.
Here are the blockers. Deathness Raptor in front of Bermaz. Zombie token in front of the cat token. Looks like Death Dealer is going to be allowed to come through here.
So we'll get some damage in. Tickal will draw a card if these trades go through off Death Mist dying. Looks like blocks are actually not finalized yet. So
yeah, it looks like he's going to switch some things around here.
Right. Is Horror Specs another creature or a creature?
Looks like Kyriadid will jump in front of the cat token now. Deathness Raptor is still going to stay on Bermaz, and now the zombie token will jump in front of the Death Dealer. Death Dealer currently a 3/3, counter from Jamoka's command last turn.
Yeah, there's the last spell in Caleb's hand is at Jamoka's command. A Tickal with his Warden of the first tree. So he has 1 trick remaining. I think if in Caleb's spot, he's not going to play around Rally the Ancestors anymore just because he really can't. He's done a good job of taking away Tickal's ability to recur the card. He's very aggressive at getting rid of Jace. But as it stands, Tickal can actually play a fair game of Magic just with these 3/1s in hand and do a pretty good job of having that be the decider.
Command helps to kill Grim Horror Specs, which means there's not going to be a lot of value gained here. But again, what Tickal's plan is Scherer is going to play Warden of the first tree, that's his last card, is to just whittle away the board, just grind you down.
Mm-hmm.
And he's started to do a really nice job of that, to turn these Edict effects into powerful cards. And then if he eventually does draw another copy of Rally of the Ancestors, the game will probably end on the spot.
Yeah, Tickal has 2 of the 3/1s in his hand, 1 of each. But there are 3 creatures in play for Caleb. So right now, Tickal does not have a way to deal with the final creature. And the final creature could be pretty significant, whether it's Death Dealer or Warden of the first tree.
Yep. That said, I like the idea of casting the Edict effects if you're Tickal here. I just want to whittle away that board as much as I possibly can. He's got the necessary mana to do so now. That was a problem for him last turn.
Yeah, he is 1 kill spell short. Doesn't have too many life points to work with.
There's the basic Plains.
That's interesting that he would go for that one. Maybe he's going for 2 Caryatids and a 3-drop.
Well, he's moving the Caryatids forward. Yep. 2 Caryatids and a Nantuko Husk.
Well, I suppose Husk just is an 8/8 at the moment.
Yep. If it needs to be.
Right. So the only creature that can actually attack on this board is Rakshasa Death Dealer.
I'll take that. He can attack with everything if he wants to.
Yeah, and yeah, Husk will go for Warden. Love the block here by Tickal.
Bermaz was the draw. So nothing to really play around here.
Yeah, I mean, and the question is if Caleb even wants to make the pump. If he makes the pump, Tickal will sacrifice the Carriata that's in front of the Death Dealer.
Yep.
And and if Caleb goes for the pump, he won't be able to play this Bramaz, so he probably just lets everything happen. And Tickal will sack it anyway.
Yeah, if it's going to die anyway, might as well get a little bit of free value. So there goes the Warden. No damage dealt there by Scherer, so he'll follow up with the Bramaz. And as you mentioned right at the start, you can see how difficult this matchup is for Scherer if he does not draw an Offensa.
Right. And it's great that he drew a creature there. If he didn't have a creature, Tickal would have deployed 2 of the 3/1s and ended the game. As soon as he gets Caleb's last creature, things are very tough. And remember, there's always this looming threat of Nantuko Husk plus Mogus's Marauder, which could get close to being lethal.
He's almost there.
Right. He can play 2 more creatures. The Husk is a 10 at the moment. It's 11 thanks to the Fleshbag Marauder. He can't deal 13, he can deal 11. He'd play Mogus's Marauder, Fleshbag Marauder, sack the green creatures to Nantuko Husk, and that'd be 11 damage.
But he's not all the way there yet.
Well, I suppose 2 fewer, he does still have to sacrifice to the 3/1s.
Yeah. Oh, Husk coming into the red zone. This is a little surprising.
Well, I mean, this seems great. It's free damage. We talked about how close he was. If Caleb blocks, Matthew will put sack the team to Husk, then play 2 of the 3/1s, and he has a backup Husk to try to win the game with.
Merciless Executioner.
Seems great. He has, yeah. He can follow up with another Nantuko Husk.
Gonna float a mana.
Yeah.
So there goes the Caryatid. Again, mana floating there from Caryatid.
Looks like he's going to go for a second Edict.
Yep.
Yeah. Fleshbag Marauder.
Another Caryatid down. And
I'm interested here. I would have thought he would have... I expected to see the Nantuko Husk come out there.
Okay.
Because Bramaz's attack's actually pretty reasonable on this board.
Also reasonable to take the damage, however.
Yeah, I mean, next turn... Yeah, Tickal has 10 damage on the board with Mogus's Marauder. We're getting very close. Well, if he has another Husk and Marauder, that's actually lethal.
Yeah, that's lethal.
So that's what he's setting up for.
He's setting up for just a giant Intimidate attack.
Yep.
And he has to, he has to hope that Scherer didn't draw a removal spell if that's what he's going for.
Draws another Husk on his side. So barring any removal spells, he's got this one, but it's an all-in play.
It is. It is. It's a little bit difficult to go for. It's easy for us to say that he should go for it, but we'll see if he ends up doing that or not.
Yeah, and there was some unsafe play here. I think if last turn he just, instead of deploying 2 3/1s, if he plays an Nantuko Husk, he can, rather than losing his Caryatids, he can just hold back a large blocker and he can play with a much safer life total.
There's a Husk.
But right now, he's priced into going for lethal.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, he could play the Mogus's Marauder and swing some, but not all of the creatures.
Yeah, he's deciding right now between Husk and Marauder. He has the necessary mana to cast it because there's Norberg on both sides of the table. So ignore the fact that there's 2 Temple of Mysteries and a Plains over there. Black mana plenty here for both players.
Everything is a swamp twice.
Yeah, Tickal not willing to go all in here. 2 damage will come through. Scherer has no interest in blocking. There's another Husk. Sandstep Citadel pass the turn back. Maybe we see him go for lethal next turn.
And that makes it a lot more appealing. Though Caleb has drawn a copy of Valor Stance, that shouldn't play here.
Yeah, and I like Caleb just continuing to attack. Again, I think his hand is pretty forced in what he can do. Just sitting back on defense isn't going to do anything. So at least by attacking, maybe you can get Matthew to make a mistake.
Yeah, the Nantuko Husks can certainly jump in front of some cats. Looks like he may even go to try to kill the Bramaz. That would be a win for Caleb if that happens. Valor Stance will be a really good trick here. Yeah, I don't know if Tickal needs to be worried about the 1 damage coming off that cat token. This block plays around Valor Stance really well.
It does.
Caleb can use it to save Bramaz. Then it's a 1-for-1 with one of Tickal's creatures. That seems pretty reasonable for him. So good block here. So not many things that punish him. Yeah, so it's hard for him to lose from this spot. It's not, and I think he will still preserve his lethal attack next turn.
Well, there's your blocks.
All right, takes
and
one.
I think we do have lethal lined up next turn. There's Caves of Koilos.
Yeah, and Tickal just won it with overkill, and I think he's gotten that overkill.
Yeah, Mogus Marauder, everything's going to get haste and intimidate, and I think you're right. I think with overkill, he doesn't even make a pump here.
Right, so he doesn't activate Valorous Stance. Even if there were a kill spell in Caleb's hand, Nantuko Huska's insurance against something like Bioblight.
Yep. Caleb's going to slow him down a little bit, but that is going to do it. Matthew Tickle's going to win game number 1 here over Caleb Scherer. 4-color Rally, the Tickle special. Up a game here over Obs on Aggro. As we get ready to take a look at the sideboards, we will start with Scherer since he'll be on the play. And he's got 4 Ultimate Price, 3 Herald of Torment, 2 Gather Courage, 2 Hunt the Hunter, 2 Boon Satyr, and 2 Self-Inflicted Wound. Probably sounds familiar because Andrew Boswell playing the exact same deck, and we just saw him last round. Chris Anderson also playing the same deck. So all 3 of those players playing something very similar. We've talked so much about Anafenza and the fact that Caleb needs to draw it, but do you like any of these sideboard options?
Not really, to be totally honest. These are different I don't like removal spells much against Rally, especially from the Obzon side. A lot of his sideboard is removal, and then the rest of it is different creatures, but in this matchup, I think he just wants the biggest and most efficient creatures, and those are the ones in his main. If he had brought something like sideboarded Thought Seizes to the table, I would definitely be using them here, but this sideboard was not prepared for this matchup.
What do we see on Tickle's side with his crazy 4-color deck?
He's got, all right. Running through the sideboard, what he has an extra Death Mist Raptor, Hidden Dragon Slayer, Den Protector, Thought Seize, Murderous Cut, Hero's Downfall, and Reclamation Sage, along with 4 Cleric of the Forward Order. On Tickle's side, he would do well to try to contain some faster Obzon starts. So an extra Death Mist Raptor is probably good. A Murderous Cut seems pretty reasonable against this. But this is a matchup he likes. He just needs to make sure he doesn't lose to things like Anafenza. So he probably also boards in his Hidden Dragon Slayer just to make sure that's the case.
Fair enough. Hidden Dragon Slayer, a nice answer to Anafenza. Not a ton of answers, but a nice one. So we'll see what happens here for game number 2 as these players do get ready. In the meantime, we will talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news. You can find the latest on the Open Series. You can watch Open Series Match of the Week, along with receiving some exclusive deck list and advice. This month, it's Gerard Fabiano. So Gerard with his Saltai Brews and all his wacky stuff. You can find exclusive pieces in there. Catch up on all of the event results, both Open Series and Grand Prix and Pro Tours, and read-inclusive cardboard crack comic. Most important of all, it is free to sign up for. StarCityGames.com/newsletter for more information. It's free. You're on the internet anyway. Who are we even kidding? Just sign up as we get ready here for game number 2 between Scherer and Tickal. Find a little bit more about both of these players. Caleb Scherer, kind of in the St. Louis area, actually. Been playing in a lot of Open Series events. Number 14 on our Season 4 leaderboard, looking to qualify for the Players' Championship. And you can see the Invitational Top 8. Storm was certainly responsible for that. He's also got 1 Open Series Top 8 and some interesting information.
Right. So apparently he only eats peanuts, and he lives completely out of his backpack.
It's tough to do. Do you think he keeps the peanuts in his backpack?
Well, yeah, you'd need a lot of them if you're going to live off them. So a backpack is an appropriate amount of peanuts.
Now, I know you're a math guy. Do you do differential geometry?
I do not study differential geometry, but I definitely respect it. That's some hard stuff.
Okay, fair enough. That's not my area at all. I'm not a math guy, so not sure how difficult that is, but I believe you. I believe you. No,
it's so a focus differential geometry, a lot of that. Yeah, certainly higher. That's a higher level calculus. Yeah, it's a different field. I was more in the combinatorics area of math.
What?
Probabilities.
Thank you.
But not like the stats kind, like the counting kind.
Okay, so
if you're doing probabilities, you're either doing numbers, or you're either actually like doing trees, or you're doing like graphs and stats.
Okay.
So I'd be on the trees side.
Okay, got it. So you had to break it down for me into simpler terms. I don't even know what word you said.
Right. Combinatorics.
I've never heard that word before.
It's like the word combine, and then I put a bunch of suffixes on it.
Yeah, I've never heard that word before. I read Magic articles and talk for a living. I've never heard or seen that word before.
Yeah, I probably just made it up, actually.
Both these players will take a look at their opening hand. Caleb will be on the play. It all sounds so hard.
That's the best part. Is that like we don't actually even know if I made it up. You know, this
I
could
have
just
no
be an
idea.
elaborate troll we're setting up.
I'm gonna Google it after the round, but I have
you
no
have to
idea.
spell it first to Google it too.
Well, hopefully
you know.
auto spell is working on my
All
phone.
right.
Even though I do. Okay, so I think I could work my way towards auto spell getting me there.
Probably.
I think. There's no guarantee here. Regardless of what it sounds hard.
I believe enough machine learning will help you out if we just start there.
I think it'll carry me home. Here's a warn of the first tree. It's much easier to say. Caves of Koilos is where Tickal will start.
He's got the rally in his hand again. Remember, there's no Thought Seizes out of the board of the Obs on aggro deck.
So all Caleb can do outside of Anafenza is just be hyper-aggressive.
Hit him really hard.
Yep.
And 2 Wardens is good. It's a good start.
Oh, hidden Dragon Slayer face up.
Lifelink Goblin Piker. It does. That's good here. Kind of.
It's kind of good.
No, you can't actually block. Ew, wait.
He can't block, but he can attack, assuming that Caleb doesn't have anything to follow up with.
So one thing that I do want to point out with the 4-color rally deck is look at Tickal's lands.
Well, I don't like the start as far as the lands are concerned.
I mean, this is the price for playing Jace.
Yes.
Is that you signs your Caves of Koilos, Island, in his hands, Liliana, Rally. I mean, at least there's no green cards in his hand.
Yeah.
But that said, this hand's ugly.
No, I don't love the start, and it's getting worse. Scherer has a Bramaz to follow up.
If he gets a black mana source, he may be okay here. Ooh, Temple. That mana.
We're fixing it.
By the way, we still can't cast Rally or Liliana. That didn't actually help the cause.
Draw a card every turn. That's how the game works. Maybe he draws the right land next turn. Caves of Koilos.
That land's horrible.
Caves of Koilos is what we're looking for.
I guess.
We're going back Caleb's way. Fleecebane Lion the draw.
Sometimes they're just going to beat you up.
Well, this is my style of Magic. Just attack them.
This makes sense.
Hopefully their mana doesn't work out. Get a freebie. This one could be on the house. Tickal not going to block. Caleb will activate Warden to make it into a 3-3. He'll activate the other one, so this will be 3-6. Yeah, 3-6, 9, 10 points of damage coming through, and Tickal is going to concede the game immediately because his mana is not cooperating with him. So Scherer gets to play 4 turns that game and wins that one. Obs on aggro indeed, as we're all tied up now. See, it's simple. Sometimes their mana's bad.
Play dudes, turn them sideways. Your opponent... That mana was unbelievably bad.
Yeah, it was not good. Island into Caves into Temple.
Remember when you have 2 duels and a basic in play and you can cast none of your spells?
Are you saying that's not good?
That's not, yeah. Yeah. It's not like you have the right number of lands. They're the duels you chose to be the deck. They're not even the same color duels. They're different color duels. You have a blue-green and a black-white. You got all your colors, still can't cast a thing.
Yeah. Now, you know what? We might delete that, or we might keep it. Okay, we're going to keep it. And where you can find it is on our YouTube page. You can watch that really not particularly good mana there from Matthew Tickal in that last game, as well as a lot of other stuff like our Versus Series archives, our premium video archives, Open Series archives, unboxings, and other specialty content. YouTube.com/Star City Games. Become one of over 70,000 subscribers, and much like our newsletter, it is entirely free. And like I like to say, you're going to be on the internet anyway, so just sign up, just because who are we kidding? As we get ready here for game number 3. And we're going to talk about a card that some people have asked us about here via the Twitter sphere. It is Ruinous Path, the brand new Hero's Downfall. It's very easy to compare it to Hero's Downfall because, you know, the same text. But as you know, control player Matthias Hunt, sorcery speed and instant speed, very different.
Right, so it's Hero's Downfall at sorcery speed, but it does have Awaken on it, right?
Yes, it has Awaken. The Awaken costs 7 mana, 5 colorless, 2 black. So you get to make a 4/4 out of the deal, but the flexibility of instant speed versus sorcery speed, very noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, this is by and large going to be worse than Hero's Downfall. When you look at a control deck or a deck that would want to play this, I mean, a blue-black control deck, first of all, isn't really interested in the Awaken cost here. Okay. If I have this and a counterspell in my hand, I don't even want to Awaken a card. You know, I'd have to have so much mana in play before I'd want to do this. In a black mid-range deck, this is fine. It's a universal answer. But at the same time, because it's not an instant, I'm not sure this matches up how I would like it to against something like Utter End. The card's good, and I want it, and I don't mind using it, but for that universal removal spot, like, this is not the 4 of the Hero's Downfall has been.
Yeah, Hero's Downfall is a slam dunk.
Right. You need to have the right curve of removal, but I might play this because I need some more 3s, but I'm not happy about this card anymore. Yeah,
you know, the comparison to Hero's Downfall is simple, but it's also kind of lazy. Because Sorcery versus Instant is just so different.
Lightning Strike and Volcanic Hammer are worlds different of Magic cards.
Yes, they are. That's a great way to put it as we are watching game number 3 here between Scherer and Tickal. Let's see if Scherer is able to find an offense in this game. He's got a Fleece Main line to play on turn number 2, so he's off to a great start. Tickal's mana base, slow to start. A lot of lands entering the battlefield tapped. Here's a Satyr Wayfinder. He'll get a trigger. It does find a land there in Sandsep Citadel. That'll enter the battlefield. This is better.
It's better. It's getting beaten up again, though.
Here's Urborg. Here come beatdowns. Is there Anafenza? No, they're just going to be a pump.
Caleb has multiple copies of the Bramaz in his hand. Yep. That's not really going to be helped. He's got a lot of damage.
I mean, he's dealing a healthy amount of damage. He just attacked for 6 that turn, but he can't deploy another threat. And he still hasn't found Anafenza.
Tickal's an interesting spot. He's got some 3-mana removal. Doesn't have a 4th land.
I like this play.
Yep, Satyr attacks, and then he edicts. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, predictably going to sacrifice the Satyr.
Right. Ideally, I think if Tickal draws an untapped land, he would have tried to go for Satyr into removal spell for the following turn, perhaps, or Satyr Jace.
That was a good draw there for Mr. Scherer. Finally found Anafenza.
That one's big. There is another removal spell in Tickal's hand. He has Hero's Downfall, so he is covered for the time being.
Jaroka's Command going to take care of the Fleshbag Marauder. Scherer going to come across here for a bunch of damage.
Tickal down to 9. Remember, there is a rally in his hand, and now he picked up a second white source, so it's not going to take very long before he can rally here. He is going to want one more land. I was wondering if he'd Wayfinder for it, but looks like he'll just use Hero's Downfall.
Yeah, it takes care of the Fleece Main Lion. Rashasha Death Dealer the draw here for Scherer. But I think you got to get this out there.
That's the card. That's the big one. Now, Rally's already in Tickal's hand, so he can't stock the graveyard anymore, but perhaps he can fleshbag into what he needs here.
Tickal found 2 lands to pick. He's going to go with Sandsep Citadel. That'll end on the battlefield tapped. Here's a Jace past the turn back. You saw the other creatures, Fleshbag Marauder and Nantukos, get exiled because Anafenza's on the battlefield. Land number 4 is Llanowar Waste. There is a Surok. That'll have haste.
Yeah, this is lethal.
Yep. That's the one of. Counter. Block, of course. Take 4 points of damage. Wayfinder will get exiled because Anafenza's on the battlefield, so we got to make sure that board state's correct.
And I do think there are two, that last black card in the graveyard, we may have a pair of 3/1s in the graveyard. So Tickal might, I think, can get the entire board.
I think the question right now is, do I do it now or do I do it later? Looks like he's going to start by activating Jace.
Well, it depends if he wants to discard a creature to the Jace, if he wants Jace to flip. You know, he can loot with Jace, have Jace flip, and then have Jace flashback Rally the Ancestors. He can cast the one that's in the graveyard as opposed to the one in his hand.
Very true. Death Mist Raptor the draw. Don't want to discard that one.
Yeah, whatever he discards is gone. And remember that Tickal can stack the triggers so that when he brings back Satyr Wayfinder, it actually will get to mill into more creatures. He can have that happen last after the edict effects. And he'll use Jace to flashback that Rally the Ancestors in the graveyard. This is for 3. He had 2 Sandsep Citadels, so no damage.
Bring them all back.
Wayfinder, Caryatid, Executioner, Fleshbag.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Scherer's going to lose his board.
Right, so he's stacking it so that first the edicts happen, so that when that Wayfinder mill happens, he'll still get to mill things. To mill creatures, specifically.
Yeah, so long as he stacks it correctly, it will be in his favor.
Yep, 1 sacrifice has happened. Here's the other one.
Yep, and now there's the trigger. No Anafenza on the battlefield, so creatures will actually go in the graveyard this time.
2 Jaces and a Hidden Dragon Slayer milled.
He took an Oppian Palace from the Satyr Wayfinder, placed it directly on the battlefield. That's his land for the turn. Now we're going to go Scherer's way. He's got to rebuild. And he's facing down.
Tough spot.
Yeah, he's facing down a tough board.
Well, there's not that much. you know, in Tickal's graveyard. His graveyard's pretty manageable.
There's a Death Dealer. Pass the turn back. Well, the setup is clear, so at least Caleb has a way to win because he has a copy of Herald Torment in hand.
Yep.
So we know what the plan is, which is just to bestow onto the Death Dealer and have that be lethal. Now, does he get the opportunity to get there? I think we'll find out.
Looks like he might. I don't, you know, there's no removal going on just yet. Now, remember that Death Dealer is down to being a 0-2 thanks to Jace.
Yep.
So it's not actually lethal next turn to bestow Herald of Torment.
Scherer going to draw. Picked up another copy of Death Dealer. Now, what'll be interesting here is he supposed to play another Death Dealer and not Herald yet? I think he may have a copy of Siege Rhino in hand. It looks like he's just going to Death Dealer now, or he's going to bestow Herald now.
That'll work. If he plays another Death Dealer, then Tickal will get a chance to attack with Liliana and gain life that way. He can take out Jace, though. But it looks like he's going to go straight for the life total. Yeah, Tickal's down to 2.
Yeah, the next turn he can just attack and then pump a bunch and have it be lethal.
Just attack, yeah.
Yep. That looks to be the plan here for Scherer. And he's at a high enough life total, and given Tickal's graveyard, looks like he's in a pretty good spot. And if an Edict effect comes off the top, okay, I lose my creature, but I still have my Herald of Torment.
Now remember, there were some kill spells in Tickal's graveyard from earlier. I believe a Hero's Downfall.
Yep. And
Jace is on 3. So it may be off the bottom of the screen here, but I do believe he can flash back that kill spell.
Well, that's
it doesn't solve it.
It doesn't solve the problem, yeah. It's good-ish.
Well, it kind of, so if you do that and Liliana attacks, you have one more turn to work with.
Well, Liliana's coming in. I'm curious to see if Death Mist Raptor's coming in too.
Well, I don't see how he wouldn't. There's no reason for him not to. Tickal goes up to 4. That's important.
We'll have to see what the follow-up is here. He's got Rally in hand, but Rally not doing very much right now. Graveyard not particularly good.
Right.
Well, here's Hero's Downfall. That'll take care of the Death Dealer. Herald will be left behind because of Bestow.
Yeah, that doesn't accomplish much. I mean, he can get another Jace going. Okay, so one thing you can also do is he does have some lines where that doesn't do too much. He can Minister of Pain, exploit away a Death Mist, so Liliana would flip and Liliana could reanimate something.
Yeah, but there's no Marauder.
There's no Marauder, right. Yeah. If he had something like a Reclamation Sage in the graveyard, that would have worked.
You can see how difficult this deck is to play. There are so many different lines available here to Tickal.
Yeah, well, most of the neat lines involve your Planeswalkers flipping. It's a pretty neat deck.
There's Jace. Opulent Palace pass the turn back. Scherer will take 1 on upkeep from the Herald. He's going to fall down to 12. Take a draw step here. Siege Rhino would be lethal. Jamoka's command 2. It doesn't look like he's got it to be able to deal lethal, so he's just going to put Tickal down to 1. The follow-up here for Caleb is Bermaz.
Tickal needs something.
After this is a Death Dealer. So now those Edict effects are covered, and as you mentioned, Tickal does need something now. Minister of Pain, along with Rally in hand and a land. Take a draw step here. An island, not very helpful. He'll start by playing a Plains. Jace can go active and flip.
Yeah, and he may need to start by doing that. Just because I don't think he's winning with the cards that are in his hand. He's got Hidden Dragon Slayer in his hand. No, Rally in his hand, Hidden Dragon Slayer in the graveyard.
Yep. There's the Jace activation. The Temple of Mystery. Another one that's not particularly helpful. Herald of Torment, a card that's going to be rotating out. I think a lot of people expected more from this particular card.
Well, it had its moments. It saw some playing mono black aggro.
Yep.
That was last season.
I know I was really excited about it.
Yeah. And you know, we've seen it research go back from time to time in Abzan. It just speaks to the quality of creatures that Abzan has available, that it doesn't have to go to this guy.
It's very true. Jace is going, looks like up to 6 to give something -2, -0. I think the Tickal is just deciding what it's going to be.
It probably has to be the Herald, and Liliana's going to have to attack as well.
So Herald's going to slow down. You mentioned that Liliana needs to attack. It could just be sending itself right into the abyss.
Very possible.
It's not an attack that Matthew wants to make, but I think it's an attack that he has to make. And I think he realizes that. So here comes the lifelinker because he needs life. Scherer weighing a block here with Bramaz. It's so straightforward that it almost seems like maybe I shouldn't block like this.
So one option Tickal had that I think was missed here is on that turn he could have played Herald, he could have played Minister of Pain, exploit it to itself, Liliana flips. Liliana reanimates Herald of Minister of Pain, it sacrifices to itself again, then rally the Ancestors Minister of Pain a 3rd time, and it would kill Death Dealer and Herald of Torment.
Okay, that's a heck of a turn. I mean, that's a complicated turn.
But it would have killed Herald and Death Dealer, and he'd have the Death Mist for the Bramaz.
And so he'd be in pretty good shape?
I think he would, yes. Okay. I think that's a win.
Minister could have done a little bit more there than I think it appeared.
Playing one Minister 3 times in a turn is not something that you always think, hey, yeah, of course that's available.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Now Caleb has to be careful how he's going to attack because, you know, there's just that looming thought of rally the Ancestors and bringing back a bunch of stuff, and how bad is it going to be for me? It looks like everything's coming in, however.
3 in the air. 1 in the air.
Just 1 in the air, yeah.
1 in the air.
Tickal, curious if he's going towards Jace. Oddly enough, the answer is no, Matthew. He's trying to kill you.
No, yep.
It's time to rally those Ancestors. And we'll see what comes back from the graveyard here.
Here's where, all right, so it's going to be for 3. So we have Jace, Dragon Slayer, Minister. The Jaces get Legend ruled, extra Jaces.
Liliana flips, zombie token comes. We could get an exploit here with the Minister of Pain. All this stuff on the stack. Just a super not complicated, easy deck to play.
Yeah.
Minister, are we exploiting Matthew? Are we not? If we are, what are we going to sacrifice? Maybe the Minister to itself. Okay.
Yep.
So Caleb's board gets -1/-1. So that means the Herald is a 0 power creature. Death Dealer currently a 1 power creature. The Bramaz token died, and Bramaz itself is a 2/3, which means it's a favorable block for Death Mist Raptor. I think it's a favorable block now for the Dragon Slayer too. So this is getting interesting.
Caleb can pump through that, but Tickal is gaining life.
Tickal is barely hanging on here.
Well, this was a good setup for him.
Scherer's going to activate Death Dealer for a little pump action, it appears. So damage will resolve.
Tickal will go to 5.
Yeah, Tickal shouldn't lose that Death Mist Raptor. I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't believe so either.
Yeah, so we'll check on
shrunk.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Death Mist Raptor back on the battlefield.
Yeah, because Death Mist Raptor is a 3/3 and Bramaz is a 2/3 in that instance because of the Minister of Pain. So now they've got things sorted out the way that they should be. Now Caleb wondering if the creatures die in combat, do they get exiled? The answer is no. They just go to the graveyard as normal.
But doesn't mean that this Death Mist will get exiled.
Correct.
Right, he came out of the graveyard? No, maybe he was in play. He was just there.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. Okay. So now, upkeep with the rally trigger on the stack. Matthew's going to activate Jace.
Yep.
It'll flip. So now he has to lose one of the flip Jaces. So he loses the one with the least amount of counters. Okay. Yeah. Now he'll go to his draw step. We can keep up with you, Tickal, and your crazy deck.
And with Tickal at 5, he's not as worried about cards like Siege Rhino anymore.
Yep. Grim Horror Specs was the draw for the turn to go along with the Temple of Mystery and the Plains already in hand.
Why is there no rally in his graveyard?
Here's Temple. Okay, the top card was a rally, so he kept that there real fast. He wants to do that song and dance again.
Jay's doing a lot of work here.
Jace up to 7. Herald, slow down. 1 power creature again. Liliana is going up.
Both players discard.
Both players just discard a land. Tickal will play a morph. It's Grim Horror Specs. Pass the turn back. Over to Scherer.
And as we look at these Planeswalkers, we rarely build up to their ultimates, but that may be a line that Tickle's playing.
It's very true, actually. We don't see the ultimates, especially on these flip Planeswalkers, very much, but that could be a unique way for Tickal to win the game. And you see Liliana's ultimate. You get an emblem whenever a creature dies, return to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So maybe that starts to work itself into the equation.
And she gets up to 8.
Scherer attacking with everything again. Pretty quick blocks here.
We know what the morph is. Copy of Grim Horror Specs. That means that Tickal will draw a card when the Death Mist trades.
Scherer has priority at this point. So he's going to pump the Death Dealer into a 4/4 to beat the token in combat. Caleb's draw for the turn was just a land, so nothing exciting in hand, though Tickal doesn't know that. But as you mentioned, the morph there for Tickal is Grim Horror Specs. Now he's just going to let the Death Mist Raptor die.
Wow, okay.
Well, I think this is completely reasonable because he can just unmorph the Horror Specs and get it back. So I think that's a reasonable play.
We would have drawn a card, though.
Oh, okay, well then I take back my comment. I think it's less reasonable now because he would have drawn a card. You're right. So
I guess it's whether you want to draw a card or get back Death Mist.
Sure.
So it's one or the other, and
Sure.
you'd rather have Death Mist than the card. Because he doesn't have another way to bring it back.
Yeah, but I think, okay, he's going to bring it back as a morph. I think I would rather, I feel like I want to draw the card, but I guess it's pretty close. Closer than I was certainly giving credit for. It looks like Rally was the draw here for Tickal.
Once again, he has some lines with that Minister and Rally and Liliana.
Gonna unmorph Death Mist Raptor, give it a counter.
Oh, that's 7, and then Herald kills him on the upkeep.
Lethal, yeah. Matthew Tickal is going to win this match here over Caleb Scherer, 2-1. 4-color Rally does defeat Obs on aggro. It's a tough deck to keep up with, but Tickal has found unique ways to get wins with the deck, stretching the mana for Jace and some other unique effects, but it's another win for him with this deck. We saw him start off 9-0 with it at the Open Series in Chicago a little while ago, and he's off to a great start here. He's 3-0 here in Milwaukee.